Everybody, we are live this morning. We are live. This morning's topic, smooth operator. This morning's topic, smooth operator. You see, Neville keeps saying we are the operant power. Yes? Well, think about that. It guides, because I always say the law governs everything. Yes, it does. It governs every single thing. You see, the moment you become deliberate, right? Now you are operating the law. And the way to become a smooth operator of the law is with much practice, but much fun practice. Learning how to change our state on a dime. You see, sometimes, I'm not going to call any names, sometimes we get caught up in what's going on around us. And you know, this time of year, they say, allegedly, is the hardest time because it is a blatant reminder of our solitude. Mm? But if you can see intuitively, you would notice that this is all by design. Mm? When we fall prey to that little thing that says, you have nobody, you are nobody, who would want to be around you anyway? You see, when we fall prey to that, now they become the operator of our lives. Who's they? Anybody that ain't you. Just an observation. So, when you look at your life and you see where you are, what state are you in? You see, this is the part of our practice. What state of mind are you in? As I've told you before, it's not every day that one is, wee, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. It's not every day that we are like that because there is such a thing as an ebb and a flow. But look at the state that you are at, your mental state. Acknowledge it because you cannot pretend or deny that it isn't there. That's not what Neville says when, that's not what he means when he says deny your senses. He's telling you, you've got to see what's going on around you first. What is that? Well, the way to know where you want to go and what you want to do is to see where you are. So in order to see where you are, you must acknowledge it. When you acknowledge where you are, is it a desirable state of mind? Does it hold you in a grip of, does it hold you there? You see, remember and recognize that it only holds you there because you've practiced. It is only a habit. We've got to start taking our power back. That thing is only a habit, and habits, as we know, are simple little things. Oh, Angela, I know you insensitive this morning. I know you don't care. What now? A habit is a thought, a word, or an action that you do the same way every time. That's what a habit is. If you recognize your state as being a habit, then does that not make it easier for you to say, oh, well, according to the laws of polarity, let me recognize this habit that I'm currently doing that is just useless to me and find the corresponding behavior that's on the other side of the pole. It is not different in its nature. It is the same in its nature. You know, love, hate, same in nature. What nature is that? Emotion.
But you know what? Just to get in there with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about nature, right? Your habit creates your habitat and draws to you things that inhabit that same vibration.
Ooh, child. That's sweet, Marquise, because it's 100%. You hear it? The habit does what, Marquise? Say it again.
It creates your habitat and aligns you with things that inhabit that same nature, whether it be a person, place, or thing. We're talking about nows in the now.
Exactly. So you see what we do with our habits? We live there in our habits. That's why it's your habitat now. But that habitat causes you to do what? Bring to you things that are also alive within that habit. Mm. Neville says the state you're in is the habitual state. That's the home state, the place you go because you've practiced going there. So here is your freedom. You can clearly see what that habit is. So, how do you start a new one? By choosing the activity you would prefer to do and consistently do it the same way every time. Because that's how you got the old habit. You see how free that is now? Oh, but Angela, that takes a lot of work. Did you not put all that work in to build the old habit? Yeah, you did. But you see, back then you did it and you didn't know what you were doing. But now that you know what you're doing, you've become what? A smooth operator. You can look at it and say, I see that old habit. What's the new man I want to be? And you choose the behavior. What did we learn last night in the lecture? Neville says, your transformation comes when you recognize that your outward behavior has changed. And it didn't change for 2 minutes because you know us. We do a thing for 20 minutes, 20 days, and we go, oh my God, nothing has changed. It's still the same old. Well, that's not a transformation. Even Dr. Joe Dispenza is now talking about transformation, changing from the old man to the new man. But that transformation will happen when you change the state of where you are. See what it is? So practice recognizing what mental state you are in. That's where it starts. Where are you? And remember what Neville also said. You fuse with the state, but the I does not become the state. The I is what gives life to the state. So when you see the new state you want to be in, you got to step into it and do what? Breathe life into that state. Or the state just sits there. It is inanimate until you step into it and appropriate it. Because that's what you're doing with your current state at the moment. You are operating your state. You've breathed life into it. So if you say, meh, this no longer serves, this is no longer, you know, good enough, you are dissatisfied, or as Neville says, you're poor in spirit. Ooh, it means you're not complacent. It means you look at that state and you go, that is no longer good enough. No. And you say, no, that's not good enough. Because now you're not complacent. Complacent, you just you just say, I'm gonna just stay here. What? No, 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 no. When you look at that state that you're currently in and you say, you see these behaviors? This is not who I want to be anymore. And you look around because where are you now? Polarity, right? Where are you now? What are you doing? And then you will see the new state. And you'll say, I'm that. And you step in. Go ahead, Marquis.
That has to be acknowledged because for the last couple of weeks, I've been saying the poor will be with you always and looking at it from a particular view, but looking at it from a different level of consciousness. Now it's like you would have to always be poor as long as you're in a physical body because you're going to be constantly looking to excel. There's no end and there's no beginning. So if you're fully satisfied, like, yes, this is my complete, I am now grown. The only thing after you can do after you're grown is to die.
Mm-hmm.
You have no more place to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's, you see, this shows you, right, that we are always learning, growing, hmm? From state to state. We move through these things. We grow, right? We grow. We may rest for a while, but we don't stop. We don't stop. We rest. Hmm? So, step one, recognize the state that you are currently in. Step two, looking at the behavior that you're currently doing because of that state. Is that where you want to be? Is that where you want to remain? If it is good enough for you, sure, stay there. If it is not good enough for you, then observe where you are and you will see the state on the other side that matches that one. It's got to be the same in its nature. For instance, the example is this. Neville used it. He said, if you were in debt, what would the end be? What would the end result? What would the new state be? The new state would be debt free because you're in debt. So the end result, the new state would be debt free. It wouldn't be money, it'd be debt free. Think about it. You're in debt. It's just like the man who's imprisoned. What is the end? Freedom. Hmm? So begin. This is why I say it's always going to be the same in its nature. If you're feeling jittery, what do you want? You want calm. Same in its nature. Hmm? You're upset. You need to be soothed. If you're barefoot, shoes. Same in its nature. You can't ask for a dress. You hungry? Well, then food is the end result, which is the new state. So always recognize and acknowledge because you cannot run away from it. It's you. You're embodying it. So you can't run away. So acknowledge it and then look and see, where do I want to be then? And that is the new state. And you see, we think that being in that new state has got to take us 10 years, 5 years. Nah, as soon as you recognize that state, you say, okay, I'm that. Okay, and you pop into it. How do you pop into it? There's a behavior and there's the way it makes you feel. Then that's what you appropriate. Because that's how you'll know you're in it. You begin to, oh, well, that's nice. That feels nice. I was tense over there, but now I'm relaxed over here. I like this state of relaxation. And you get into that state. And like Marquise said, you're gonna move through states. Because that's what we do. We go through them all the time. We move, we move, we move. So that was step two. If that state is desirable, fine, keep it. If it's not, identify the new one and occupy it. Step three, how does one occupy a state? Neville says you jump in there and you say, oh, what would it be like? Because you start getting a sense of what it feels like to be in that new state. And when you begin to feel the relief of that new state, or the calm of that new state, the abundance of that new state, now what do we get to do? Remain consistent in that state. Well, how and why does one remain consistent in the state? We remain consistent in that state because we know that it is I am that gives life to the state. But Angela, I really don't believe in I am. I am is not to be believed, I am is observed. What do you say all day? Oh, I'm this. I'm so, oh, where is I am then? Mm, right there, isn't it? So you are the operator. You're the one to say, this is the direction I'm going in, or I'd like to change direction. And we think that changing direction takes a long time. Yesterday, I was walking and I felt kind of funny. I was like, what is this? And I said, unidentified state. Recognized unidentified state. I was like, what is this? I said, I don't like how it feels, but I'm like, where did it come from? I'm like, I don't like it. And I heard, you want to stay there? I was like, no, but I still would like to know what it is. I don't think I found out what it was, but I didn't stay there because I did not want to create from that state. That's why I didn't stay there. And for me,
it's literally that simple, right? It's literally that simple. Trying to process, you get all kind of pings and suggestions and just feelings. Why would I sit there and try to figure out? That's like me trying to figure out, what a baby is saying. Like, only thing I can do is try to provide comfort and change the state. I can't figure out what this baby is saying, and that's what a negative thought is. Like a little baby kicking you in the foot.
Yes, yes, and that's what we like to do, don't we? We like to analyze and figure it out. Acknowledge it though. Recognize, is this, ooh, but the more you practice, right, moving through one state to another, the more you practice, you'll begin to find something that nothing, because remember Marquise was saying how we get all these suggestions throughout the day, all these mental suggestions. Buy this, go here, you're not worthy, you don't have any value. We hear these things all the time, these little suggestions. When we hear those things, instead of allowing them to, here's our fancy word, trigger us, recognize what it is. Recognize that it is a projection. It's not you, it is just a projection. Don't let it hit you. And how do you prevent it from hitting you? By recognizing that it is a projection. That's its job. Its job is to polarize, to pull you in any left or right. That's its job. Your job, on the other hand, is to recognize it and say, oh, and you move out of the way by doing what? Stepping into another state. You say, no, I am a smooth operator. I move through states. You don't control me. I am. You see, this is the part of the boldness now that we become. And I will keep telling it to you until you recognize it within yourself and start doing it deliberately. Oh, I got to feel better. I want a way to feel better. There's a state. Identify it and go in it. Because you'll see the behavior that matches that state. You say, well, that's the behavior I want to do. And you start doing it. You start doing
Always remember, the mind trip is free of charge. You don't have to need a boarding pass or anything.
Hey, exactly. That's what I'm telling us today. The more we practice, the more smooth the movement between states becomes. And you will notice that you have been transformed by the renewing of your mind when you see the evidence in your outward behavior. What used to trigger you no longer has power. But that's how you know you've transformed yourself, because you're no longer responding or reacting the same way anymore. That's a true transformation. Not a part-time lover. It's not part-time. It is a true transformation. I'm not telling you something that I don't have to do on a daily basis. Seriously, when I say, ooh, in that movie Wall-E, when the little cleaner thing would go, ooh, foreign contaminant. I'll say, ooh, foreign state detected. What is this? And then right from the moment I acknowledge and recognize it, and I see it, I now am looking at it and I say, ooh, that state, ooh, that one over there, that's the one. And I go over there because now I can see where I came from, and I look back and go, oh, snap, that's where I was. Mm. And I'm looking at it from my new state, right?
But you know what though?
Mm-hmm.
Just to beat home on the smooth operator, right? Just so make sure everybody's getting that pun right. The operating power is smooth, and when you strength is strained, but power is effortless.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to force power. Literally, you can walk in a room and anything that is not of your vibration will submit versus you have to tell it to do it. It just does it because it knows who you are and what you are.
I love that because it's facts. It's facts. That's the power you have within you. You know what I mean? It's the power. Because if you think about it, we've gone into rooms before. I love that analogy, Marquise. We've gone into rooms before and we've felt things. We go, ooh, I don't like that. And some of us sometimes will stay and will conform. But you see, if you walk in there with that I am, you are now the one setting the tone for the space. And all things that enter that space conform to you. Now, I don't want to make you think that it is a power trip because that can be a little sticky. The power is not to subdue the other, the power is to maintain one's own self. You hear me? The power is not to trample anyone, the power is to maintain your own state.
Say that one more time.
The power is to maintain your own state, not to subdue the other. It ain't got nothing to do with the other. It is all about the self. If you can walk into any space and maintain your current state, you are powerful. But if you walk into that space, now here's the beauty. If the space that you walk into elevates you, oh, that's a good thing. But if the room that you walk into, if it lowers your state or attempts to lower your state, you have to initiate your own power to keep yourself in your own state instead of allowing something or someone to drag you down. You are the operant power.
Exactly. It's like we would back when we would call it pinging off the environment, right? So let's say if I walk into a posh restaurant and I kind of sometimes I can talk kind of loud, right? I'm about to set my own tone. Now I won't be obnoxious. I mean, maybe I will, right? But it just doesn't matter. It's not. If Kanye West walks into a room, do you think he's worried about talking loud? No, he's like, no. I'm submitting to my own will. Whether you submit to it or not, it's not of my thought process. I'm going to be who I am and what I am because I am.
Well said. There you have it. So remember today, the more you practice, step one, recognize where you are and what you're doing. That behavior matters. Because when you see that behavior, now you will say, ooh, do I like that? Why is it? Why does that always happen? Do you want it to continue? That's the other step. Then now you will see the new state from there and you'll say, you know what? I'm that one. And you will go over there because it has a different attitude. It has a different set of behaviors. That's where you want to be. That's what you would prefer. Right? Think about this for a moment. If you're a student and you hear, oh, well, you need more work. You're not as strong as the other students in the class. You see where that state is? See where that state of mind is? It makes you feel how? Not very bright. So what state should you be in then? Because if you think about it, if you look at the work that is before you in your school books, and you come from the state of, oh my God, I don't get it. That my teacher is right. I'm not as good. If you come from that state, you think you'll understand it? No. So you need to go and occupy the state of confidence, so that when you are looking at the work, I understand what I'm doing. That's right. Why? Because now you begin to see the work from a different state, a state of confidence. So now you can boldly ask, hey, can you go over that again? And when they go over it again, you understand it. You're in a different state. How will you understand if you remain in the old state? Because you're saying, I'm not good enough. I don't get it. This isn't for me. This is beyond me. Then it has to remain that way, because that's the state you're in. But if you now occupy the state of, oh, confidence, you know what? I don't quite understand that. Can you do it again? Now you're in a different state, one of boldness. You see how?
Exactly. But you know what? That's what they say. It's not where you're from, it's where you're at, right? So when you think about this concept, let's say if you got something that's pissing you off, and it's like, well, look into your childhood, then you know what, it don't even matter. But if you need to do that, do that. But it really doesn't matter, because the only thing we need to know is that's not where I want to be at. So I could observe it and get strengthen it, maybe by proxy for standing so close to it, or I could just get away from it and exist as I want to be and as I am.
Oh, I love that you said that. Where are you at? What state are you at? You see, when we get bold enough and we practice, right? How do you know if you? I told you how you know that you've changed. Your behavior. You'll not be the same anymore. What used to poke you or ruffle your feathers doesn't do that to you anymore. You're like, meh. You're in a different state altogether. So you have a different attitude, you have different behaviors that correspond with that state, right? So take your time and recognize what state you are in. Do not allow the rest of the world to tell you, man, that's going to take you 20 years. It's going to take you forever. What? You can see the new state. What does someone with financial security behave like? Well, they don't worry. They don't worry, I'll tell you that. So they have what? They're in a state of peacefulness. Well, how so? Well, think about it. If you have the the mind where you say, I don't have to worry about anything. I can go out and buy anything I want. My bills are taken care of. I don't have to worry. I don't have to fret. So if you don't have to do any of those things, what state are you in? So you see the attitude that goes there. Go with the attitude first of not worrying. And because bills don't stop. We can get them in our email, we can get them in our mailbox. Whenever you get that piece of mail, that bill, you see, it has the power sometimes to pull you back into the old state. But you exercise your power. So when you see it, you go, oh, that's right. Remember, every time I see bills, I associate that with a peace of mind, not to fret, not to worry, because it's taken care of. Until such time, Neville says, it becomes natural for you that when you see a bill, you don't even do that anymore. You just go, oh, paid. Let me pay that. I don't want to have that there just sitting. It just doesn't deal with that. So you move from, because it's the behavior that you'll see that will take you from a place of, oh my God, how am I going to do this? The mental attitude, mental state would be one of no worry. It means no worries for the rest of your days. Right? Hakuna Matata. Right. So when you realize and recognize that you have stopped worrying about it, that's when you know you've transformed. You've been transformed by the renewing of your mind, because that thing, the bill hasn't changed. You're now seeing it from a different state, the new state of abundance. And you'll notice it, because you will catch yourself and go, oh my goodness, I remember when I used to, oh. I remember when I used to worry, but you don't anymore. See? That's how one becomes a smooth operator of the law. We become smooth operators of the law through practice and knowing that, hey, I can change states. Well, that new state has corresponding behaviors and an attitude, and that's what I want. And you put yourself into it and practice. Because what happens is you see the new state, you get in it, and you're like, well, this is nice. You stay there for as long as you need to be, and then you can move through to another state. But you notice we're always upwards and onwards, aren't we? We grow. That's the key. Let's take a brief moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Rone, the better man, one. Asanya, Cynthia. I see you here, and for the others that have not made themselves known in that chat from either Facebook or YouTube, I see you. I see you. Twitter. Hey, Tiffany. It's so good to see you. I know Ruru was there, and so that means Lilith is part of the replay gang on Twitter. It's good to see you and Javion. I wonder, Miss Tiffany, how is your mommy? Make sure and say hello for me. Fanbase, who's here? Ah, Joaquin. Thick Afternoon Delight is here. Hook a brother up. Coach ZC. Dua is here. Asia is here. Stephanie. KZ. Marquise. Oracle Treehouse. And Jeannie. Zola. I see you all. Thank you for being here on this lovely, where are we now? Wednesday? Ah, snap. I think it is Wednesday. Yes, it is. Thank you for being here. But practice. If you don't remember how to practice, where are you now and what are you doing? What does that feel like? Do you like it? Because that's your current state. Do you want to remain there? Acknowledge where you are because it will show you where you want to go. Because you'll say, I don't like that. And it will show you where you want to go. And then you say, okay, I'm going to go over there. That's the new state I want to be in. And you go over there, and the behaviors that are over there, the mentality that is over there, you occupy that place. And listen, you have every right to be in that space. You have every right to be in that space. Nobody can keep you from that space except for you. So now you see your power, do you not? That's what it is. So when you see that and you go over there and you occupy that space, do it. And you will find that over a series, I don't know, days, weeks, months, things become easier for you to observe where you are at, decide where you would like to be, and move with ease. So you become a smooth operator. But here's the kicker. We like hello Jeff. It's good to see you. We like to hold on to our old story because we like to talk about it. Mm? Eh? Yeah, we like to talk about that old story. Oh, well, this has been going on for so long, blah, 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 blah. I've been trying. It's nothing is changing. Oh.
It's a New York Times bestseller.
Right? Right? That's what I'm saying to you. Relinquish the old story. It serves you no longer, which means stop bitching and moaning about the old way that you used to be. Use it, however, to show you the clear path to, oh, well, I don't like this behavior and this attitude anymore. What state would I prefer? And remember, it is always in the same nature. Hmm? Hot, cold, love, hate. No shoes, shoes. Debt, debt free. Same in its nature. It's just a matter of vibration. What does that mean? Vibration. Everything is moving, nothing stands still, for one, right? So because it is moving, it vibrates. You know, we hear words because we learned words, but what we're actually hearing is the vibration passing over, the vibration of my tone passing over your eardrum. That's what you're hearing. But we learned words, so now those words match the vibrations. Everything is moving. So then you are moving. You can't be still. You've got to move from where you are to where you want to be, right? And the way in which you move, if you gonna drag your feet, I gotta go here. Oh, you gonna drag yourself? Listen, what's the scripture say? The Lord loves a what? A cheerful giver. So give up the old state with glee. Why? Because it has no power over you anymore. That's what I'm trying to tell you, to get you to celebrate. Celebrate good times. Come on. It doesn't have power over you anymore. Why does it not have power over you? Because you see it for what it is now. You see without judgment. Because you know, when you hear, well, you know, you did that to yourself. Oh, them is fighting words. What do you mean I did this to myself? How dare you? We Greta Thunberg it, right? It's not a matter of how dare I. I am telling you, the way you perceive yourself to be, what you believe yourself to be, is exactly why you're there. And I'm not saying it because I want to be cruel. I'm telling you, change your state of mind. Change your state. You're not trapped in a state because we are always moving. So then what do you decide? Where you want to be and move there. Oh, but I don't have this, I don't have that. So now we're bound by what we have and what we don't have? Well, hello, we are what? Creators? So if you look and you say, well, I don't have that. Well, what would it look like if you had it? How would you behave if you had it? How would people see you if you had it? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We create from our imaginations. You see, sometimes we think imagination is talking about little children. That's not what it is. When we hear imagination, we think children. No. Imagination is the creative act. How so? If you are a seamstress, if you are a tailor, if you are a baker, if you are a chef, if you are a singer, if you are a dancer, where do your ideas come from? Hmm? Hmm? Where do those images come from? Within, do they not? That is your imagination. Is that, listen, another word of to help with imagination is called make believe. What are you doing? You're make believe. Believe it means you experience these things. So you're taking it out of your mind and putting it where you are. You're moving it from the inside out. Inside out. Boy, you turn me. That's what you're doing. You're taking it from the inside and moving it outside. So the imagination has nothing to do with, what do you think I am, 4? That's child's play. No. Any idea that you can conjure up and see, and it invokes a feeling within you, you look at it and go, oh, that would be nice. Oh, I got to do that. Ooh. Now you're beginning the creative process. There's nothing childlike about that. You understand? So now, if you now believe the assumption that imagination creates reality, well, then you hold up the image and you say, this is what I'm creating. This is what I'm creating. You have to see it. You have to see it so you can recreate it. So imagination creates reality. Where's the thing in your imagination? Look at it. get all of its dimensions, because that's what the seamstress will do. And they'll cut out a pattern. Hmm? They will cut out a pattern. Listen, I watch artists sometimes, and she has this wet clay, and she'll press a leaf into it, and then she'll paint the impression. After she pulls the leaf up, she'll paint the impression left behind, and then she'll heat treat it, and it is so glossy because the kiln, right? It is so beautiful. You know where she saw that? In her imagination first. All of the components were there, and all she did was follow through with it. She took it from inside to the outside. So that is the assumption that we hold on to, that imagination creates reality, that what you can see in there, you can bring it to life. You can breathe life into it. So Neville says, whether you need one person, whether you need 10,000, every person lines up and they play their part. So what is your job? Your job is to, oh, this is what I'm creating. That's your job. This is how you will move yourself from one state to the other. Creatively. Creatively, my beautiful friends. Never again take your imagination for granted. Oh, but what am I, like 6? I'm so way past that. Are you really? You're a writer. You're a dancer. Any great choreographer worth their salt is highly imaginative. All they do is hear a beat, and they can see every dance move in their mind's eye. That's the kind of person you want to be around, the one who is imaginative. Well, then that's the kind of person you want to be. And the funny thing is, you are already that. But you see what we do? Oh, that's child's play. And we stop ourselves from being imaginative. You're not being imaginative because, oh, I must have that. Nah, you are being imaginative because that is your nature, because that's where you create from. So when you say things like, this thing I want is not showing up, well, that's because you have relinquished the image. You've let go of it. You don't let go of what it is you're creating. You hold on to it so you can see which curve and which line to shape. That's what you do. You do not give up on it. You take the pleasure in the create. Listen, I'm going to say it this way. We all know where the pleasure is. It is in the creative act, is it not? I'm just an observation. The pleasure is in the creative act itself, which means what? Coming up with the scenario. Coming up with the scenario, coming up with the scene. That is the part that is the biggest thrill right there. You see, Neville says you have to fall in love with it. Love. And Junie, love will keep us together. You gotta fall in love with it. Why? Because the thing that you are in love with has your full attention.
And guess what? Sometimes that birth may hurt, but that conception is always lovely.
It is, isn't it? It is the conception that is, whew, hallelujah. It is beautiful. But then, comes the true part where you gotta, you gotta give birth to it. And
you gotta push.
Exactly.
Push.
Don't make me do salt and pepper up in here this morning. But you see, even in the pushing, though, what are we reminded of? We're reminded, you know what? I did this. I wanted this. This is beautiful. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's why when we mothers, we forget what that labor and delivery was like the first time. And we go back and we do it again. Right? Because we were in love with the thing we were creating. Be so in love with the thing that you are creating, Neville Goddard says, that it is the only thing that is on your mind. That's it. It is in your mind so much you have memorized every curve. You have memorized every line, every smell, every touch, every taste. You've memorized it. That's what you've done. You see, when you stay there, you don't have time to say, oh my God, it's been 6 months. Are we there yet? You don't even care about that part because you know that in due time, that thing, as soon as you see it, you'll know exactly what it is. You'll say, there's my harvest. Why? Because you'll see the curve. You'll see the line. You will smell it. You will taste it. And you'll say, ooh, that's my baby. That's what you'll do. So you've got to get yourself there. When you're creating the scene, fall in love with what you're doing. Fall in love with it. That's the part that we give up on because why? We don't come from a state of passion and the love of creation itself. We come from a state of desperation. Oh, I want this. If I don't have it, my life won't change. That's where we come from. And a state of desperation, well, that breeds frustration, doesn't it? But if you come from the state of, ooh, I am creating this. And if I had it, every morning I would get up and I'd be in this kind of a mood. Every morning or every lunchtime, I'd be in this kind of mood. Oh, I'd be in that kind of mood. And you stay there and you see the world from there. You speak to people from there, that state. And they see you from there. They speak to you from there. And then, what happens? When you encounter the thing that doesn't have a choice but to show up because you're calling it. You can't come unless I call you. Yeah? And because you've called it, now you will recognize your harvest when you see it. Because sometimes we don't recognize our own harvest because we're caught up in something else. But allow the seeds that you have planted to fully take you over. And that is where now I will get the bowl. So that when you create your scene, right? When you get into your imagination and you create it, oh, oh, how would I get out of bed? How would I talk to my neighbors? How would I talk to my family? That's how I would do it. How would I see them? How would they see me? See it from that state and fall in love with that state. Because why? That'll keep you in the state. And you will move and you will have your being in, yes, from that state. It's a beautiful place. But hey, don't take my word for it. What do I know? I can only tell you a little something, but it is you who has to be bold enough and curious enough to say, let me test it out, because this heifer might be crazy, but let me see if I can prove her wrong. Neville says, you can try to prove me wrong, but you'll only end up proving the law itself. Anyway, don't let me get started on that. Let me hit play. Wait, what's in the chat there on Fanbase? That's it. Marquise, he says, oh, town hero, yes. We're on the God spectrum. Indeed we are. It is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. Let's get the ball. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, Ruru, Tiffany, Javion, and Mother Dearest. It was great seeing you all on Twitter today. Tonight, if you are awake, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can catch that replay of that bedtime lecture. But I'll see you tonight if you're free. Much love to you all on Twitter. Twitter is closed. Facebook and YouTube, Jeff Darling, Renee, The Better Man 1, Sonia, Sonia, Cynthia, hey. And for the others who've not made themselves known, I also see you. I'll see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Much love to each and every one of you.